We have Val's Drive-In across the street. Going to be opening tomorrow. They have a truck delivering some food. Very nice to see that. I am on my walk this April 16th, 2024. On this rather breezy 60-degree day. Do a bit of a different route today, sort of. As long as I get my 5 miles in, I don't mind. So I'm starting to find out that I'm not very good at this, following the legislature and following these bills. I seem to get more confused than anything else, because they're always amending things, sending it back to the Senate for another vote. Then I think that's the final vote, and they actually vote on something to send it back to the House. Hi, how are you? So, basically everything I've said that has passed hasn't passed. It's still going on, if you can believe that. They're doing all this voting, but they're voting on certain amendments to it and provisions, and I really hate that, because I don't want to put misinformation on the internet, but I legitimately was... Ooh, that's a good wind. Well, we could have done without that. I'm getting sand in my eyes already. That's nice. Thanks. So we can see it's a really nice day today. I got to hang on to my hat. So basically what I was saying is, now that the wind is calmed, is your guess is as good as mine on what's going on for gun legislation in Maine. What I have noticed is things that were initially passing very easily are now starting to get tighter. So the interesting development was the Maine tourism, which isn't it isn't actually the Maine tourism. It's part of the National Parks Guides Association. I believe the NPGA. I could be wrong on that. But they sent a letter to lawmakers similar to what the gun manufacturers did. Now, the gun manufacturer's bill is dead. That's gone. So they're not going to be able to make gun manufacturers liable if their weapons are used in a mass shooting or murder or probably even suicide. They really wanted to stick it to the gun manufacturers, because if they can't make guns, then there won't be guns, which we all know is ridiculous. They'll just come in from Czechoslovakia, Turkey, places like that. They'll be imported. Probably be easier for them to regulate imports, or I should say stifle. But it's unconstitutional to ban manufacturers from making something that's not illegal and then punishing them for it when a customer does something nasty with it. U-Hauls would be a good example. Driving through a parade to kill people with a Ford would be an example. You can't control the population. So somebody goes crazy with a Ginsu and kills a bunch of people with it in a mall, stabs them to death. You can't sue Ginsu, so why should manufacturers be liable? And the manufacturers have figured it out. They will just leave the state. And they have. That's what they did in New York, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. And they have lost a lot of revenue because of it. Not the gun manufacturer, but the state. Tax revenue and things like that. Jobs. It's like Holton, Maine, where the Smith & Wesson factory is. It's way up north by Fort Kent. They have 120 employees. And the population in that area is next to nothing. So that would be a huge, huge economic impact for northern Maine. Of course, the Democrat lunatics didn't think of that, or didn't care. But Auburn's representative, one of them, Laurel Libby, suspects that the majority Senate president got a phone call from Janet Mills and said, "I absolutely do not want this to come across my desk." And that's what she was saying. She suspected. Said she couldn't verify that, but it just seemed awfully fishy how they just switched on it, and so many Democrats voted against it out of the blue. So anyway, the other gun bill is the 72-hour waiting period. What I was getting at, or alluding to, with the PGA, which are basically the Association for Guides in Maine and Tourism, where they sent a letter to the Senate and to the House explaining that this is going to impact tourism because somebody flying into Maine, because they chose Maine to go hunting for a hunting trip, flying into Maine, and let's say they airlines lost or broke their firearm and they have to buy a new one. Well, they're going to have a 3-day waiting period. So, and the Maine Guide Association says that that's a very common thing, where somebody comes here and they buy a firearm once they're here because of things like you can't travel through New York, Massachusetts, and Connecticut with a firearm even if you own one legally. They don't allow it. So this would hurt the tourism industry in Maine to a certain degree, and you need an FFL, you need an FFL if they say that's the law. So there'll be no way around it. The other argument I was making is one I made on my woods walk. Where you have this 5'2" blonde girl being stalked by somebody. She needs protection. She doesn't own a firearm. Decided, you know, maybe I need one because this guy is definitely trouble. Now I'm scared. So then you have to hope that the guy waits longer than 72 hours. And then somebody like me can't take a shotgun I own and say, here, take this, protect yourself. Because now if she shoots him because he's stalking her and she gets charged with a crime, I'll get charged as well. Because I supplied a firearm to a non-relative with good intentions, I'll get charged with a felony under the new law that's in the bill. So I know at this point, most lawmakers are pretty informed. I called my Democrat lawmaker, the one in the House, Michael Lejoie, which actually has the French version, it's Michel Lejoie, very French, former fire chief in Maine, retired. He's told me in the past that he was interested in the mental health aspects of it, that there's already enough gun laws in effect for gun owners, yet he's voting for the 72-hour waiting period. He told me on the phone today when I called him that he was going to vote for it. His reasoning is that he believes it's going to lose in court and that the courts should settle that, because when they do, it'll put it to bed once and for all, rather than every new legislature bringing it up until it passes. I can understand that logic, but on the other hand, you're being spineless and not voting for it because you don't want to upset your voters because he's a Democrat. So he's stuck kind of in independent land of sorts, where he has people like me that are Republican, but most of the people he represents are Democrats, some of which own firearms and don't support gun control. Some just want better mental health. Some people just don't want that shooting to happen again. But nothing they have proposed is geared towards stopping mass shootings. Literally does nothing. So the logic is not sound. They are just passing stuff to make Michael Bloomberg happy. I know that, and you know that. So, of course, they won't admit that. But that's what it is. They get their money from Michael Bloomberg for campaigning. And lawmakers are always raising money because they have to. And that's just the simple truth of the matter. And all we can do is beg and grovel by calling them and sending them emails and hope something makes sense. Now, he didn't think a 72-hour waiting period was a big deal until I explained to him about tourism and simple things. I said, you know, tell me honestly. I own a couple dozen or more firearms. Why am I being restricted 72 hours after purchase because I might do something bad with a firearm when I already have them? Of course, he didn't have an answer for that. I said, on the odd event that something may transpire with some young person going crazy, killing people, the odds are very low. And again, we are at a mental health problem. We have a mental health issue. That's what we have. So punishing law-abiding gun owners isn't going to do a damn thing to stop mass shootings. It just isn't, because you could do a mass shooting with anything. They have this notion in their head that if it's a black AR-15 that looks like an angry wasp, that you can kill with it more than other firearms, which everybody knows is nonsense. I could even do a mass shooting with a black powder cap and ball revolver. That's just a fact. They classify a mass shooting as more than 3 or 4 people getting shot, I believe. You don't even have to kill them. Not that a cap and ball wouldn't kill somebody, it would. My .36 caliber, maybe not, unless it was a well-placed shot, but you get the .44 caliber, which is really 45. 30, 35 grains of powder with that. Oh yeah. That would make a hole, and that lead ball would flatten out, especially if you used conical bullets with it, which you can buy 44 conicals instead of the round ball. So effectively it would be a 900-mile-an-hour lead projectile, which would be a 45. 230 grain ammo is ball ammo for 1911. It's 900 to 1,000 feet per second. Right? And the lead ball conical bullet obviously isn't as heavy, but you can get 900 plus feet per second out of that with a proper black powder charge. You definitely would not have time to change cylinders, even if you had them all ready to go with caps on them already. It's a cumbersome thing. You would not have time to do that without somebody jumping on you, because they'd realize it would be that obvious. Now, if you had a couple other cylinders, a couple other pistols with you, well, that changes everything. So you could have about 18 rounds ready to go, and you could shoot them all quickly, as quickly as a pistol, because it is a pistol. People like me, used to them, are accurate with them. A lot of people buy these reissues, Piettas and stuff, and they don't bother sighting them, so they shoot like 18 inches off target one way or the other, or up and down. But I have mine sighted. A lot easier than what you might think to do. So we need to keep in mind that you can use shotguns, which, by the way, they had their amended vote today to dispel customizing triggers. Customizing triggers to mechanically make it easier to shoot a firearm would be illegal if they passed the machine gun law, because they didn't account for, and really here's the problem. In the federal statute, they call it a firearm, a rifle. They specifically mention rifle. In the Maine law, they don't specifically mention a rifle, they just call it a firearm. So they wanted to amend that today to state just a rifle, to be in line with federal wordage, and that lost by one vote. One vote. So the votes are getting closer and closer on things as more common sense is starting to rear its head of the impact financially to Maine and to responsible gun owners, many of which are Democrats here in Maine. So this stuff might be, just might be, on the road to getting defeated, despite this being a direct call from the governor to pass something. Now, they were citing other states as examples. Now, according to the Bruin decision in New York State having to do with Keller, you're not allowed to do that in the courtroom and say, well, New York did this, Vermont did that. But these lawmakers were saying the Republican governor of New Hampshire, after a plot was uncovered for a young person to do a mass shooting, and it was averted, narrowly averted, he called for the legislature to pass legislation. Banning things like bump stocks and mechanical triggers and things that were used in other mass shootings, like the one in Las Vegas. So then they proceed to quote Donald Trump, who said these mechanically assisted things should be made illegal because it creates a machine gun. So it's like, well, thanks a lot, Trump. You weren't very helpful on that. And that was him listening to somebody in his cabinet that he probably shouldn't have listened to. So, can't give these guys any ammunition whatsoever. None. Because on the surface that makes sense, but now the Democrats are trying to define what a machine gun is in Maine to include shotguns. So if you do a trigger job on a shotgun, you're altering how the gun fires, and it will now be classified as a machine gun, even if you're still getting just one shot with a trigger pull. There's a couple of other states that have that in the courts. And the other thing to keep in mind too, if some of this stuff passes, like 72-hour waiting period, there's going to be a lot of court litigation with that, and it'll be in the courts for a long time. So it'll be a while before that takes effect, even if it does win, and it's probably going to end up losing or winning in court to decide finality one way or the other. That is where the Bruin decision in Heller comes in. So, yes, democracy is slow. It really is. And it's painful. But a lot of gun owners panic for good reason, and they get upset. But realistically, this is going to be a while before this stuff takes effect. And now, whatever they're voting on today in the House is going to go back to the Senate. So if the Senate says, well, this, that, or the other thing doesn't work for us, they'll send it back down to the House to be voted on there again for that specific change or amendment. So it's all legal-like. So they try to make themselves not look like authoritarians. And it's a democratic process, which to some extent it is. But also, this is when you start hearing a lot of things, you know, like the right to bear arms shall never be questioned. That's what it says in Maine in our Constitution. They even tried to say that's arbitrary. You have the right to bear arms. There's nothing in there that says you can't regulate it. You know, and they always resort back to that. But if you have a 72-hour waiting period, you're taking the right of little Miss 5'2" ability to protect herself out of her hands, effectively removing her Second Amendment rights. You're infringing on them. So what happens is they pass legislation like that, and then you have to wait for a 5'2" blonde girl that gets killed, and you file a lawsuit and have the law removed because it was unconstitutional. Or if some gun group finances it, you can file a lawsuit ahead of time. That's what the NRA used to be valuable for, and now the gun rights or gun owners of America seem to be the premier up and coming who are doing what the NRA should have done. The NRA was spending a lot of time apparently embezzling money from itself, money people donated. Everybody's cleaning up for spring. I'm going to stay on this side of the street simply because of firearm rules and then proximity to a school, even though technically across the street the sidewalk is public property. I've gone over that a million times with people. If you read the Maine statute, it specifically states you cannot discharge your firearm within 500 feet of a school. Everybody seems to think that you can't have a firearm within 500 feet of a school. And every single one of these cars going by chances are somebody in there, at least once in a while, will have a firearm on them, and they're not breaking the law because that's not the law. And they are within 500 feet. So, for example, I'm going to be walking by Bates College on the sidewalk, not on their property. And things get changed so often, and this and that. I don't even know if that applies to colleges, if that's their own rules, which it probably is. And if it is, that would be like if I took that walkway on their property, I'd be breaking the law. But just walking on the sidewalk, which is public property, I'm not. And coincidentally, I have the camera mounted on my chest, just underneath my pectorals, with a harness made for that, because I had the clip on in my neck loop, and that was a little too bouncy. A little more noticeable than normal, and it didn't ruin the video, but it was noticeably more bouncy. This should be a lot more stable because it's using stretchy straps and it's hugging me pretty good. It actually fits well and it's comfortable and it's steady, so it's bouncing up and down about as much as my chest does when I walk. That shouldn't be too bad. So this is a nice, they've done a good job building these buildings. These are all relatively new, last 10, 15 years, 10 years maybe. So looks like the college is getting some good funding. It's in one of the top 20, I believe. It is a liberal arts college, which basically means a bunch of rich kids. Sometimes you see them not so rich. I remember years ago when I did a radio show here on campus, many years ago, in the early 90s, that there was a couple of kids doing a radio show. I was kind of a kid myself in my 20s. And they were working 1 or 2 part-time jobs while they were going to school here. And then on the other hand, I remember one time there was this black woman from the UK with the accent, and she was upset that the Dunkin' Donuts at the time didn't have change for a $100 bill because that's all she had. That was before everybody was using electronic cards and ATM cards. She probably had credit cards. Maybe she just wanted to complain. But anyway, I did dig her accent. I thought she was cool. Forget her damn name though. I talked with her a few times at the radio station. Tall and very leggy. Pretty black woman. She was British. And I'll turn so you can see the Bates College campus, which in the fall it's really nice looking. You know, because you got all these trees right here. And in the fall, we get amazing foliage out here. So it is a really, really beautiful campus. And we used to take my brother and brother-in-law's dogs, a couple Dalmatians. Used to take them over here to run them. Because my older brother at the time, with his wife, lived not far from here, just down the road. It was a short walk to run the dogs, give them exercise. Hi. So, looks like some people are camera shy today. I see a camera strapped to my chest. They look paranoid. So we get that beautiful church up ahead. Very nice. So we're going to take a walk right down this way past Bates Security. This is where the Bates campus safety officers are. Don't know if they're armed these days. Probably not. But I've seen some crazy things over here doing a radio show. Remember one time there was this 19 or 20-year-old girl, maybe 21, but I doubt it, very drunk, wearing a short mini skirt and a tube top kind of thing. And a cop had stopped and was talking to her. And she was laughing her ass off right here on this lawn. And what happened was she lost her balance because she was drunk, and she fell right back on her can, both legs up in the air, no underwear on, with a mini skirt, laughing her ass off. And so anyway, that is WRBC 91.5 FM, where I used to do a show for many years until I went to a better radio station. Some might even say a real one. And this was always a hassle because you have parking on one side of the street. You see the other side of the street, there's no parking. So in the winter time, at the time, they had a parking ban all winter long, from November 15th to April 15th. And today is April 16th, and you would have been allowed to park like this. But now you can park like this all winter. And there's only a parking ban when there's a parking ban in effect because of a storm coming. So somebody finally wised up to that and realized that some people don't have a place to park, and getting towed every other storm, costing them $200-300 or more to get their car back, is not fun. So all these are from out of state. We got Massachusetts, we got Washington, Pennsylvania. We have, what do we have over here? We have the Garden State, New Jersey, where you have no rights at all. It's run by a king, a dictator. Connecticut, California, that's a long drive. Another California. Subaru Forester, most popular vehicle with lesbians. Michigan. It's not a joke, it is. There's a Subaru Outback, another one very popular with lesbians. And this is Wyoming. We got a Maine one, rare. Another Washington State, Washington State, New York. You're noticing the theme here. These are all extremely liberal states. Massachusetts, Maine, so I don't want to see Maine in this group. Massachusetts, Colorado, that's another blue state that went loony. Delaware, another loony state. We have New Hampshire, a not so loony state. Vermont, loony state. a loony state with constitutional carry. Maryland. We have Massachusetts. Isn't this great? We have Michigan, Maine. So that gives you an idea of the different people that come here. And we have another Connecticut and another California. So there you have that. Now we're going to go up this way. Wasn't that fun? Law offices over here. And the campus here is surrounded by law offices. Love that. So we got a Jaguar XJS vintage one. Look at that. That is a cool buggy. You have to say it like the British do. A Jaguar. That is a pretty automobile. Yes, I approve. That is nice. So we got a dentistry place up here. So it's a little bit of a different route today. I just wanted to see something different, see what was shaking down at the college. We got almost 2.5 miles in. So we should theoretically have about 2.5 miles back or more. And that's my walk I want to get for today. So we got Family Dentistry over here. It looks like they're doing some kind of repair. Digging that up. I don't know if they're fixing a tree that was leaning and they don't want to have the tree removed. Maybe the city caused that damage. That happens. We're having a window replaced at the house right now because city sidewalk cleaner smashed it with wet slushy snow with his machine. So you can see there's some kind of nice houses here. The old Ukraine flag ain't looking too hot these days. You can see that. We're doing about as good as Ukraine is, which we knew that was going to happen. It's a lost cause. Now we got this nice little field of blue flowers, which are kind of cool. So I'm going to hang a right over here and head up back towards the college. Then I'm going to, oh, we got a dead squirrel. Dead squirrel. He's a little flat. Little squirrel got hit, I'm guessing. Or he got sick and died from something, or he was poisoned, or something else. In other words, I don't really know. So I'm going to go up this hill over here. A little bit of a hill. We'll be going by Mount David, which is basically just a big giant rock in the middle of town. But you can see the entire city from up there. And I can't go up there because I have a firearm, so I'm not going to do that. In hindsight, I would have liked to have gone up there. In fact, that giant rock right there is where it starts. It's one of the highest points in Lewiston, actually. You can see all around in every direction. I will make that a point to do a future video. Maybe maybe I'll make a day of it, like with the like when I go to like Mountain Appetite Park in Auburn, I will stop here first, then I can leave the aforementioned accoutrement in the car and go shoot my video up there, and then head over to Auburn, splice them together. Maybe I'll do something like that. But that goes up that way. This is just part of it. This isn't it. It's a trail that goes up. It actually goes up quite a ways. Probably actually be able to see better. I can see a squirrel running around in the woods. I'm gonna cross the street. Play it safe. So, always be respectful of gun laws, even the crazy ones, except anything you feel and know is knowingly unconstitutional. I hate saying that, but that's what they force us to do. So basically, you would go up this trail right here. It goes up all the way up to the top of that precipice up there. There's like a rock chimney looking thing up there. It's not a chimney, it's just kind of shaped like one, made out of rocks. And you can look and see the entire city in all directions. 360-degree view of the entire city, which, if you're familiar with Maine, is not very common, because Maine has a lot of ridges, kind of mountainous without having mountains. And what did that was, when the glaciers melted at the end of the Ice Age, these glaciers, this used to be a big thick glacier where I'm walking right now, went all the way to the ocean. So all of this land here was carved out by glaciers over the centuries, and it scooped up rocks and every other darn thing. And then when it melted, it deposited those. So during the years when the glaciers melted, the water runoff from that, because there was a lot of water in it, carved all these little valleys, and the rocks deposited where they fell. So that's why there's a lot of rocky soil in Maine, which they have managed to do a pretty good potato industry in. If you should find a field that hasn't been tilled yet, you're going to spend a lot of time collecting rocks. And a perfect example of that was those property boundaries that I had mentioned and shown on previous walks. In the old days, 1700s and 1800s, they used to mark their properties with rock walls because you had rocks. You didn't have dump trucks back then, or everything had to be hauled off, horse and carriage, or you just turned it into a barrier, a wall. Or you might use the smaller rocks with some sort of mortar and build yourself a brick stone house or something. People did that. Use it for your foundations. There's a lot of evidence of that. So you have all this stuff that is basically essentially concrete, mortar, And they would make a foundation and then build a wood house on it. So there's a lot of brick structures around here too, because brick structures do very well with storms. They'll actually withstand nuclear blast to some degree. Not that you won't cook to death inside it like an oven, but the point is, a lot of times those are still standing. Which I subscribe to a channel on YouTube that has, it's all just atomic nuclear testing film footage that's been restored using AI to enhance it, give it a modern look, even though it's old. They don't change what you're looking at. They just clean everything up, repair the film scratches, and digitally enhance it so it looks watchable at a modern frame rate. And some of that footage is just amazing because it hasn't been altered. It's the real footage. You can just see more detail. So I just hit 3 miles in 58 minutes. Not my best time. Not terrible either. If I can find a way to cross here without dying. Thankfully, I'm very familiar with this intersection. As you can see, we're getting closer to rush hour. Thanks. See? No need to push a button. Maine has a law, and the Maine law says in marked crosswalks you have to yield for pedestrians. There's absolutely no questions asked about that. So it's up to the person crossing to make sure it's somebody that actually sees you and you're not going to die. But the point is, you can do like I just did and stop traffic and not wait for a damn light on a pole. Dadgummit. So we're going to go up here on this little sidewalk. Well, actually not, because it doesn't continue on, I don't think. I don't think so. Might end up crossing over across the street. This guy cleaning up. We'll cross over now. You may be familiar now. Let's see what my mileage is. To 316. If I go that way, we'll have, I think I'll go this way. Alright, I've plotted my course. I had two choices. I want to go this way. I'll probably hang a left. And then we'll take a right on Beau Street, which you have done with me before. It's So you can see this is kind of a new old route. Some of it was new, some of it's old, but nice 60-degree day with the poofy clouds. Smell something burning. Somebody's burning brush. How many times have I told you on my walk when I talked about people burning brush? There's a psychological switch that says, oh, I noticed it's windy today. There it is right there. Burning brush. Straight in front of us. How many times have I said that? It's a psychological thing. Oh, today is windy during burn brush season. Psychologically, subconsciously, your brain says it's windy. Today's not a good day to burn brush. And I've said this on my walks at least 4 times the past year or so, a few months or whatever it's been. And here we go. It's a windy day today. Today is not a good day to burn brush. In fact, it's a bad day to burn brush. It's very breezy, but it's almost like that tells people to burn brush. Ah, it's windy today. Well, I guess I'll burn some brush. Don't know why they do that. I wait until we have a nice calm 6 mile per hour or less. Burn everything in a day. No fuss, no muss. You don't have to sit there with a hose hosing ashes out of the sky like a fool. So I guess what I'm getting at is you got to be smarter than your burn barrel. That shouldn't be hard to do, but apparently it is. That's a nice pile here. I burned a big pile like that last year, and it goes faster than you think it does. Now, a burn barrel is safer than using a pit. Fire marshal knows that because I had actually called them and asked them what was legal and what wasn't. He basically shook his head and said, I know, the law is ridiculous, but that's what it is. So burning in a burn barrel, they don't like that. Burning in an open fire pit where wind can blow your ashes and burn the whole countryside down apparently is okay. So that's the story with that. So, we've got Beau Street coming up. I'll be making a right-hand turn. A couple of ducks right here. And again, that is a mama duck with a baby duck. The baby duck is still brown. And mama duck is still mama duck. She smells like shampoo. And the baby duck will lose its brown feathers pretty soon. I think by the end of spring. And we got a sign here that says "Be well." That's always good. So I hope you found all those different vehicle license plates interesting outside Bates College. Come here from everywheres. And some of those were a long trip. Obviously a cross-country trip. And they do a lot of things, like they'll come here, they'll drive here from like Washington State because they need their car while they're here going to school. So they'll be here for the whole school year until school's out, coming up shortly. And they'll all be gone for the summer. They'll come back in the fall. But usually at the end of June they have commencement, I believe. And graduation and ceremonies and blah blah blah. And then they're all gonna go back home. But while they're here, they leave their car here, and if they need to visit people for the holidays, they'll fly. Typically that's what happens. Now we're going to head down Beau Street. I got a good sweat going right now. Flat squirrel in the road. Poor thing got smooshed. I'll go back and have some trail mix. Sparkling water. Nice hot shower. Getting laughed at by a crow. AKA the raven. Now you'll notice when I first started walking after this winter, even though I walked periodically during winter, I lost some stamina, and now I have it back because I'm doing 5 or 6 miles a day like it's not much of anything. And first couple 3 weeks or walking during the winter time, I was feeling it. And really that's the purpose of it. Finding that balance between keeping your stamina and wearing yourself out, because you don't want to do wear and tear. We got a little doggy over here. Hope he doesn't attack me. Oh, it looks like he's tethered, maybe. Got a Trump flag over there. Don't attack me, I'm voting for Trump. It's okay. Little doggy. Face almost looks like a stormtrooper helmet. That's pretty cool. To me, anyways. So we march on. We'll see how far my battery takes me. I do have another battery, but I'd like to be able to get a whole walk in without changing it. That would be nice. Once in a great while I do, when I get really good times. This guy over here usually gets a big bonfire going every year. Looks like he's got a lot of stuff to burn this year. He's got a whole yard full of it. Might be a multi-day bonfire. Yeah, so burning stuff in an open pit, which is more dangerous, is okie dokie, but having a burn barrel is not. Very bizarre. Burn barrels are windproof, more or less. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good.
Over Right here we'll be coming across the Trump sign that we saw the other day. Nice that they have one out. There it is. Saw quite a few of these signs. Protect Lake Auburn from what? I don't know. They wanted to make sure that bio contaminants didn't get in there. And also I found out that Lewiston and Auburn were kind of having a water warfare. A water treatment solution, which was going to cost some money. They wanted to do a Twin City cooperation thing on it, and they were fighting about it, and I guess that's where that sign comes from. I did notice seeing the same sign on Republican property and also on Democrat property. So it's like divided among being not divided, if that makes sense. We do have clean water, and we have very healthy, uncontaminated water, which is a rare thing in the United States, it seems like. One of my woods walk videos around Lake Auburn, that's our water supply. That one had all those signs posted where you can't touch the water. Not even to rinse your hands off if you get them dirty. No biocontaminants allowed. So, I think I should take this opportunity to change my battery right here while it's easy. Pause my walk, stop recording, and we're recording. Resuming walk. Some more brush. So I have used this chest strap apparatus before. It does record a good vista. Good point of view. Like right in front. I like listening to the birds. Yep, so it's kind of funny. I had Woods Walk Gun Talk number 15. Did a woods hike. Got my information wrong. Decided after I uploaded it to take it off, make it private. So I uploaded another one. I went walking in the woods again the next day. And again, I had the wrong information. So I'm about ready to quit at this point. I'm not going to discuss it until I know what's going on, because I don't know what I'm talking about. How's that for modesty? I don't know how this legislative stuff works in my state. I'm learning. Seems like somebody comes up with a bill and then people say, well, this might not be the best, and they want to amend it. Then I guess if they get the blessing from the person that wrote it, the body votes on it and decides if it's amended or not, or if it advances. Then it advances to the Senate, and then the Senate comes up with their gripes about it, and they have a vote, and if it passes, they send it back to the House to be negotiated some more. So these have gone back and forth about 3 times. It's going back to the Senate again. This time the voting was a lot closer, which is encouraging to see. And to reiterate, I am 100% certain that the litigation against firearm manufacturers in Maine did fail. So they won't be allowed to sue gun manufacturers if their firearm is used in a mass shooting. So that's good. That is official. That is dead. That failed in the Senate by a lot. The other problem the Democrats have right now, which I found this hard to believe, but it's true, they're about 6 or 7 seats short by people unable to show up and vote for whatever reasons, health reasons. I think one of them's getting cancer treatments, things like that. So they're about 6 or 7 people short. And it seems like anything they think they might lose, they're just tabling it to another date. They did that with a couple of tax things, and they were too close on the votes. We just had a two motions passed earlier today in the House. 76 to 75 or 75 to 75. I think it was 76 to 75. And that was with missing Democrats. So that one almost went in our favor as being dead. They were saved by 1 vote. And we don't want a tiebreaker because the House President, she's a liberal loony. She'll break the tie. Actually, she votes on it too. So I guess it'd be the lieutenant governor, I think, who is also a progressive loon. We got too many progressive loons. That's the problem. So and that's what we got shaken and bacon. I'm not even going to try to predict anything. won't know till it's over. But I do know that was really good that the national guides here in Maine, who do a lot of our tourist dollars from people coming out of state to do things like turkey hunting and deer hunting. And you know, these people come into the state and they rent lodging and they spend their money here. And a lot of times there's people that have some money, so that's good. We want them to come here and spend it. And now with this ridiculous firearm 72-day waiting period, 72-hour waiting period, now you get people that are going to be like, well, now I got to figure out a way to bring a firearm with me. Hope the airline doesn't lose it. I just wanted to buy one when I got there. What's the big deal? It's a friggin' bird shotgun. So the other problem with the Maine legislation that was brought to the attention and almost got enough votes to be changed was misquoting the federal firearms regulation. Or was it misquoted? As I stated earlier, they had mentioned that instead of what the feds call a rifle, with regard to machine gun legislation, they specifically mention a rifle. Maine's just says firearm, so that could be anything. Anything that shoots multiple projectiles with one trigger pull. Well, what does a shotgun do? You know, you get double-aught buck, it might have 9 pellets. That's 9 projectiles with one trigger pull. You know, and technically, that would render a machine gun, render a shotgun being called a machine gun. Or if you put some pest control shot in a .22 revolver, now that .22 single action revolver, like a Heritage Rough Rider, $120 pistol, is now going to be a machine gun if you shoot shot in it for pest control. So that needs to be fixed and amended. You know, you're gonna come up with this stuff. That's like a backdoor way of coming in later and banning semi-automatic weapons entirely. So they need to fix that stuff. That's all I'm saying. I can't imagine Mainers would support that, even Democrats. They go bird hunting. You know, they want to go turkey hunting in the fall with Papa's old single-shot turkey rifle. Well, your shot is gonna, you know, what do they want people to shoot turkeys with a slug now? One single shot? So they want Maine to change the legislation from saying projectiles to what the federal legislation says. They call it shots. Multiple shots from one trigger pull. Meaning more than one cartridge fired. Not more than one projectile. So I just did 5 miles, according to my ear. 1 hour and 29 minutes. It's not a horrible time, it really isn't. It's not my best time, but it's not bad. So I'm going to wrap this up shortly. I want to thank you for watching, if you're watching. Really appreciate it. And I hope you have a beautiful tomorrow and evening tonight. I'll try to find out more information about the legislation until I finally get it right. I apologize to everybody involved. You know, they get these things that you care about that they bring up, they try to take away from you, and well, now I'm getting a crash course in the process and how things work. which is actually good, because that means there's a lot of other people that have no friggin' clue what they do either. So I'm learning, figuring it out. They do things like little shenanigans that they do, like withhold their vote by disappearing while it's time to vote. Dirty tricks like that. Which unfortunately their constituents really never find out about it unless they dig into independent media, local media, like I do. Really, I can't not recommend MaineWire.com enough. They cover so many things that you never hear about. They're the ones that, one of them, that made some lawmakers in Maine aware of the illegal Chinese grows happening in Maine, marijuana grows, and that was a big deal. They kind of put themselves on the map with that, along with the Daily Caller. But Susan Collins was talking about the Maine Wire in an interview she did that broke that story, so that's really good. So a lot of times these lawmakers only get the same media everybody else gets. They think that's the truth, because they're just people that ran for office, just like you or me or whatever, and they just either could afford it or got the financing to run for office. Which you don't need money to run for office. You need to register, get your name in there and get signatures, but anybody can do that. It's a matter of who you are and how you're going to promote yourself. There's always somebody with more money and more people behind them in that party to say they're okay and you're not. So it's very difficult. But the point is, they're just people, and some of them are stupid. That's just the truth. Some of them aren't. Some of them are very smart, but they're evil, and they're on the wrong side of it, and they know they're on the wrong side of it, but they're more interested in enriching themselves or whatever, and they're smart. So then you have some people that are really smart too, and they just want honesty and fairness and the Constitution of the United States to permeate everything like it's supposed to. So there's always a conflict going on. But anyway, thanks a lot for walking with me today. Hope you enjoyed it. Feels like I have somebody to talk to when I'm walking, I guess. And normally, when I used to walk without doing this, I would just walk. And that was it. Which was still okay. But now I get to put it on YouTube and put my view on things out there. I don't know if that contributes anything or not. But anyway, thank you very much for walking with me is my point. Have a beautiful evening and tomorrow, and we'll talk to you again next time, friends. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.